All right, so this is our first shot. We're attempting to record a bunch of things just to talk about Luke. We know a bunch of you are reading it, and we wanted to help along in that journey, give you a little bit more insight as we go throughout it. So today we're hitting Luke 1 through 25. A lot happens, and Jake and I were talking about this a little bit before. But Jake, why do we have Luke? Why did they write Luke? Who's Luke?
What is this book for?
What is this book? Who's Luke?
Luke's a guy.
Luke's a dude. He's not a disciple. That's really important to note. Wasn't a dude that followed Jesus around. Not an eyewitness.
No, he's just a reporter.
Yes.
He's going out. He's doing his thing. He's collecting as much information as he can.
Yeah, but very much investigative reporter. He's going out there trying to create a rock solid eyewitness account.
Yeah.
30 years after everything that happened with Jesus.
He's not going for the clickbait title or whatever it is. He's going for the facts, the truth. He wants to know what really happened.
Yeah. But why did he write it?
He wrote it so that we can have certainty. We can know for sure exactly what happened when Jesus was walking around on this earth, skipping rocks on the Sea of Galilee. He wanted us to know all about it.
Getting lost as a 12-year-old, walking across water, doing all the things that Jesus
all the things
did. But yeah, how important is it to have certainty and to be really locked in? And even for Luke, someone who wasn't a believer, didn't see Jesus, all of these things, it rises up in him this needs to be written down. In a culture that was very oral, they told stories and talked about it and everything. It took him 30 years to actually lock this thing down and write it down. So he's going out, he's getting an account, talking to eyewitnesses. He wrote Luke and Acts. He's following along Paul. And then the cool thing in Acts is when it goes from he's investigating to he becomes part of the story and a believer, and it's really rad.
Yeah.
So that's Luke. And then we have this starting narrative that kicks off. And you're wondering kind of why it kicks off with not Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
I
thought this was about Jesus.
I thought it was about Jesus too, but all of a sudden we're talking about this old grandma and grandpa who are just incredibly faithful, as the scriptures tell us. Zachariah and Elizabeth were super faithful in following. God finds favor in them. They're think of them like just long-term pastors who've been obedient to God and doing everything God asked for their whole life.
Yep.
But there's a problem with them. What's the problem?
They don't have any babies. No
babies.
Children.
And no babies in that culture was a very big deal because that means your family line is done. It's over with. There's public shame to not having children. There's a lot of even heartache and frustration with not having children. So, and we see that kind of played out in this story. So who is Zachariah?
Should we read and find out?
Yeah, who's Zachariah?
Okay. So verse 5 says, it tells us that he was a Jewish priest. He's named Zachariah. He's a member of the priestly order of, how did you pronounce it earlier?
I don't know, man.
Abijah.
Abijah.
A. When you don't know how to pronounce it, just say the first letter.
Yes.
He's of the priestly order of A. And his wife Elizabeth, who was from the priestly line of Aaron. So that they're from the family line.
Yeah, these are rock solid people of God.
Righteous in the eyes of God.
That's a really key term there. Mm-hmm. I want that label over my life.
Phil.
When I'm an old man, righteous in the sight of God, please have that title over me.
Yeah.
And I think this is a very interesting thing to note. Righteous in the sight of God, doing the Lord's work, doing everything. Yet there is this thing that we see later on. They've prayed over and everything, and yet God did not answer that prayer yet in giving them a child.
Yeah.
And sometimes that we can get caught up in I'm doing everything right. Why isn't life going the way
Come on, God.
I see that it should go?
Yeah.
I want it to go. I have these desires, and God understands our desires. But we have a prime example here of faithful people doing things, and God had a different plan, and they had to live into that plan, and that was a hard thing for them to do. But they did it, and they did it joyfully. So we run into Zechariah. He's heading to work. It's a work day, and they're casting lots. He ends up on the temple duty for burning the incense. He heads on in, and poof, Gabriel shows up. Angel of the Lord shows up, tells him, hey, guess what? It's baby time.
Ooh.
Your prayers are answered.
After years and years.
And his response is interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
How does he respond? It's not
You sure?
You sure? Are you sure?
I don't believe you. I'm old. My wife's old.
Yeah. I think we're past that time, unfortunately. And it's just like, dude, angel of the Lord showed up, told you you're having a kid.
You're like, yeah.
So, and because of the "Are you sure?" The angel goes, "Shh." He shushes him.
No more words for you.
He becomes mute
Just crazy.
until John's born.
Like 9 months of
Just
not
can't
being able to talk. I wonder what that felt like for him. Like if it was like, I don't know, his tongue just became like a piece of rubber in his mouth, or
Just stopped
what was going on.
Yeah, but also he doesn't just become mute. Like everybody's waiting for him outside. Because, you know, when you go in for this job, everybody was outside praying, hanging out, and then he comes out, and then he has to, like, hand sign to them, like, what happened to him. And somehow they figure out, hey, something weird happened.
Yeah, this ain't normal.
This ain't normal. But they told him, hey, get back to work, dude.
It's just so brutal.
Yeah, it's a little brutal. Go back to work. So if you read it, he gets back to work, and then he heads home for the day. And then he and Elizabeth, they conceive a child, and that child's name is John. And John is so important. Why is John important, Jake?
Dude, he sets the foundation for so much of what Jesus did.
Yeah.
Later baptizes the dude.
His job is to prepare the way for the Lord. And this is a prophecy fulfilled that will be someone that prepares the way, starts laying the foundation for Jesus to come in and start building his kingdom. There's a couple interesting things. It starts listing off all the things that John's going to do, but one I want to talk about is this idea that he will turn many children of Israel to the Lord. And these are God's people.
Yeah.
It says, like, you'll turn many people at the church to Jesus. And you're like, wait a minute, that's the church. Don't they already follow Jesus? And he is, in his ministry, he is really awakening people to God, awakening them to the kingdom, and kind of setting them on the path towards God. And we all need someone in our life sometime to actually do that. And John is doing that. And I think it's really fascinating, just like we need that in our lives.
Yeah. You need that person to set you on the right path to help you figure it out. For sure.
Yeah. And one big thing that we learn just from this passage is God is looking for the faithful to use to accomplish his will and to help further God's kingdom here on earth. We see through this narrative, Elizabeth and Zechariah, they are faithful, ordinary people just going off to work, just following God and doing their thing. And they weren't trying to do anything miraculous.
Yeah, they just wanted a child.
Their life was a simple obedience. Hey, what if I just did the things that God kind of said I should? What if I forgave people? What if I love people? And then we allow those results. We allow whatever it may be that God has good work for you to do, Jake. God has good work for me to do. God has good work for anyone listening for you to do. And we allow him to do the results. Our job is to be faithful like Zechariah and Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Solid.
Yeah. That is this section.
Wraps it up.
We'll hit you next time. And then that's with Jesus being born. A little spoiler alert. Have a good one. Peace.
Bye.